All right, so I really wanted to talk about Hi-Rez's new fighting game, their Smash-like fighter that they released. It's called Divine Knockout, or DKO. This game went under the radar for me. It came out of nowhere. You know, Hi-Rez is a company that generally is able to get a lot of attention for their games. If you don't know who Hi-Rez is, they make Paladins, Smite, Rogue Company, Realm Royale. The list goes on and on and on, and I'm going to talk about some of those games. But basically, I played the game on stream the other day. I want to give you my thoughts and then also share my concerns for the game as well. So I'm going to roll some gameplay in the upper right. I'll probably switch screens in a minute so you guys can just take a look at what the game looks like. So Divine Knockout is a Smash-like fighting game. It is out now on Steam, Epic Games Store. I honestly didn't look if it has come to console yet or not, but I imagine if it's not already there, yeah, I know it's on Xbox at least because they're giving out the codes for it as Twitch drops currently. And this, I've seen videos for it on the PlayStation channel as well. So I assume it's available on all platforms. So it's a 3D Smash-like game, which there's not many of those out there. We all know that Smash-like games, it's kind of been an underserved genre over the past 5-10 years. There's basically been Smash and that's it. And then, but more recently, there's been Brawlhalla, Multiverses, and now Divine Knockout, which is published by Hi-Rez. They own the developer now, but this was originally developed by a different team that they purchased, as I understand it. That's what I'm guessing happened essentially, but it is a Hi-Rez game. Important that it's in it's a Hi-Rez game because it's set in the Smite universe. So all the characters, all the maps, all the playable characters themselves, all based on gods that you would find in Smite. Thor is in there, King Arthur's in there. Obviously, a lot of different Smite characters are in there. Cthulhu's not in there yet, just for the record. But I played the game. It's a 3D Smash-like game. Again, the only 3D Smash-like game that I can remember is like Power Stone, which was a pretty underrated series from Capcom. The gameplay's fun. It's pretty basic, but all the heroes do have some good variety in them. Right now at launch, or the launch period still, I think this launched in October. I'm recording this video in January 2022. There are 11 characters, which isn't a whole lot, to be honest. But what's there seems to be pretty solid, good base, some variety in the characters that are there. And I'm going to talk about the content of this game in a few minutes. But it's fun. It's definitely fun to play. I had fun with it when I played it. I played 4 characters that are available in the free version of this game. Currently, you can get it for free on the Epic Games Store or via Twitch drop. So you can watch the game on Twitch for half an hour and get a key on either Steam or Xbox. And I'm going to talk about that and what's concerning about that part in a little bit. But the game's really fun. One thing that I really enjoyed, the maps, as you're seeing the footage, they're all very interactive. They've got different traps, environmental traps to them, different themes after gods. And it also has 3 different modes from what I could tell. I experienced 3 different modes. There's traditional first team to 8 kills, so to speak, wins, just kind of like a more traditional deathmatch, knockout kind of gameplay. There's a King of the Hill mode where your teams of, there's a 3-person mode, a 2-person mode, and solos. You have to control the hill, like an objective mode, something like you'd find in like Call of Duty or Battlefield, traditionally more shooters. But that's in there. And then there's also a coin-based mode where you have to collect coins and deposit them. This one was a little confusing to me at first, but once I got a hold of it, I understood. And I appreciate that there's 3 different modes that give the game, some good variety in addition to different team sizes. So the gameplay is fun. It's pretty simple, but it's definitely fun and satisfying. The maps that are there are good, and the modes that are there are good. I'm going to talk about my concerns for this game because it is fun. My concerns are a lack of content, the monetization, and I'm going to clarify my comments on that. I generally hate monetization discussions. I think they're way overdone and way overrated, but this game I actually am concerned about. Maybe the value is a better word. And then there's also Hi-Rez's history, which is good and bad. It depends on if you've played Hi-Rez games in the past. You may or may not have an opinion about them. So my first concern, like I said, is the content that's there. As far as I could tell, There's only like 3 or 4 maps. I didn't do a ton of research, but I played the game for a decent amount of time, and I kept getting the same few maps over and over. I know in Smash or Multiversus, Brawlhalla, there's a wide variety of maps, and they can add that over time. But during the launch period here, there's not a lot of different maps, at least, to say the least. There's also 11 characters. Again, that's not a lot, but they can add them over time. But here's my concern. Again, the value. Right now, the base version of this game, which gets you 4 heroes, is $25. The free version also gets you 4 heroes, but the base version, I think, gets you an additional 4. $25. That's a lot. And then there's a $50 version of the game, which you get some currency, you get some skins, you even get some skins for Smite. That gives you 8 heroes. Not most of the games that I know that have a hero roster. I'm thinking Quake Champions, for example, and I know it's not the best example for a lot of people. But there's if you pay that higher version, you pay for that higher version, a $50, $60 dollar version of a game, you get the whole, like all the heroes for free forever. This game doesn't do that. So to me, the value of buying this game and unlocking the heroes seems quite steep, and not quite worth it, in my opinion, despite the game being fun. Like, I had fun with the game. I honestly had a positive experience, but I could not justify paying $25 just to get access to 4 more heroes in this game. Or $50 to get access to 4 more beyond that. Even if you are getting currency and skins and stuff, I just don't see... this game should be free to play straight up with microtransactions, optional microtransactions, skins, cosmetics, stuff like that. That's the only way that I see this game being a success. I think at the beginning here, and this is one of the typical Hi-Rez mistakes, they try to get as much money as they can out of it at the beginning, and then maybe they'll go free to play in 6 months and reinvigorate the game a bit. But if you lose your core audience at the beginning or limit it so much, I think that hurts the game long term, and that's kind of an unfortunate, typical Hi-Rez move and mistake. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about here is Hi-Rez's history with their multiplayer games, which is primarily what they focus on. So if you want to do a case study on Hi-Rez, they've got Smite, their most successful game, still running today, good player base, but I would say still niche. Niche in a pretty decent scale, but it's not an Apex Legends, it's not a Call of Duty, it's not a League of Legends. Not quite that size of game. They've got Paladins, which was their Overwatch-like game, and this is one of the things that Hi-Rez does. They basically take a blooming genre, and they make a game in that genre to compete. And it's usually pretty decent quality, but then they make some mistakes along the way that end up harming the game. So Paladins was their Overwatch-like game, which was really fun, but it does have a player base, but it's severely limited. It's unfortunately basically a thing of the past and became a thing of the past pretty quick. Overwatch just blew it out of the water. So then there's Rogue Company, which, again, there's a player base. That was their... I don't know, you can't really call it a tactical shooter, but round-based, almost like Valorant, but it's third person, and there's cover shooter stuff in there, almost like Gears of War. Decent mix of ideas, but again, had super good potential at launch, and kind of squandered it, lost its player base, and it's down to an extreme niche of players. And there's Realm Royale, which absolutely blew up in the early days of the Battle Royale genre. Was one of the most popular games in the Battle Royale genre at one point. It had a lot of potential. It was massively unbalanced, as a lot of Hi-Rez games are. They really struggle with balance, in my opinion. And they're slow to react to that stuff and update it, which drives players away. They do a great job with cosmetics and the visuals and the themes of the game and the core gameplay, but they can't seem to balance it and update it enough to keep players interested and invested. And that is my concern for Divine Knockout DKO here, is that there's a super fun base game. That's always what Hi-Rez does really, really well. There's a super fun base game. They've got potential here, but they've got it out the door. And then what? You know, to get this game up to snuff, I think it needs to be free to play. The amount of content in it needs to basically double. The value of it right now, the cost of this game, is disproportionate. And unfortunately, again, Hi-Rez has a history of not being able to balance games. They have a history of not being able to update them quick enough and provide enough content. And it's sad because a lot of their games are really freaking good and fun games at their core. It just feels like this one maybe got out there a little bit too early. And that it's like throwing your potential out there. And then people play it, and then they're like, oh, you know, this is really fun, but there's not enough to do. And then they just leave. And then do they ever come back? I don't know. Can Hi-Rez bring them back? I don't know. But the balance of the game, the value of the game, and the Hi-Rez's history, I'm just scared that this game's not going to get enough exposure, and it's going to be yet another Hi-Rez project that maybe either just remains active to a very small player base and doesn't really get the attention or investment that it deserves. We'll see what happens. You know, it's still very early days, and I'm still learning about this game myself. And that's the other weird thing is I follow Hi-Rez is a company that's definitely always on my radar. When I hear of a new Hi-Rez game, I'm definitely paying attention. And this game, like, released, and I heard almost nothing about it. And I wonder if that is because it's not free to play, and that it's just many people are not aware of it because of that reason. It's not being marketed to the right audience, or maybe they don't want it full scale yet. Maybe they want a smaller player base, get some feedback, and then down the road try to market it more, go free to play and all that. But it's got plenty of potential. It's a fun game. It's absolutely worth trying. I'm just worried based on Hi-Rez's history and the current lack of actual content in the game that it will be able to sustain itself like a Brawlhalla, like a Smash. Multiversus is kind of still out. We'll see where that one goes long term, but I think it will stick around long term. I don't know how large of a player base it will be able to maintain. But interesting game. I do recommend checking it out and playing it if you can get it for free. Like I said, currently free on the Epic Games Store and Twitch drops as well. So check it out. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if you think this is another Hi-Rez project. It's going to unfortunately kind of wane in interest in player base and then just fade into the sunset, or if they can keep this one going like they have Smite. I don't know. Hi-Rez is one of those companies that I just feel like is always so close, but they never get the cigar. They very, and I want them to, because they're a US-based developer that makes some core fun games. They just can't get over that hump. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you think in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube.